Hello and welcome to Berry Aftercare. I am Connie Stapleton, and today I'm going to tell you a little story. If you've ever seen the movie Cool Runnings, absolutely a must-see in my book. There's an amazing comment by one of the main characters named Daresse, and Daresse is preparing for the Olympic tryouts. He is a sprinter, and he says to his wife, "I don't care how fast they run, I'm going to run faster. I don't care how much they want it. I want it more. I'm going to the Olympics, baby. I feel it." Such a great scene. And that is what I call having a positive attitude. And having a positive attitude is critical to achieve your goals, whatever they may be. So, attitude. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Last week, I introduced the four ACES, which stands for four words that start with the letter A: awareness, attitude, acceptance, and accountability. A word that begins with E, effort, and an S word, self. So here are the highlights for today. Focus on attitude. Why attitude is so critical when it comes to maintaining weight loss. And the reason that faking having a positive attitude might not result in making it. So sometimes faking it till you make it doesn't work. We'll talk about the reasons why not. And then some tips for maintaining a positive attitude. So, reasons that attitude is critical for maintaining weight loss. Well, for example, in the Cool Runnings movie, Daresse, he's imagining it, he's claiming it, he's putting it out into the universe. I don't care how much they want it, I want it more. I'm going to do what it takes to get it. So his attitude is just bigger than life, right? His belief in himself. So when it comes to your attitude, the reason it's critical is, one, you need to be able to see it. I'm a huge believer in visualization, imagining yourself crossing that finish line with the rest of the pack behind you. Imagine yourself wearing the clothes that you've always dreamt of wearing after you've lost weight. Imagining yourself 5 years down the road having a healthier body. Imagining yourself 10 years down the road maintaining that healthier body, doing the kinds of things that you want to do. So always and forever, the first creation is in our mind, right? We can't do anything unless we've created it, whether that's a speech or a business or a weight loss. You've got to be able to imagine it. So your attitude depends on your ability and willingness to imagine it as a reality in your life. So I found this really interesting article online, and I will post the link to the article in the podcast notes. But the article is called "Get Rid of Your Fatitude and Develop a Fititude." I thought that was just really creative. I love it to begin with. And then I read it and I loved everything in it. And it was written by a clinical psychologist named Dr. Kim Feinstein. I don't know, but she is from the Red Mountain Behavioral Weight Loss Clinic, and she is a weight loss specialist. So I'm going to share some of what she put in this article because I couldn't have said it any better, and she did an amazing job. So again, it's called "Get Rid of Your Fatitude and Develop a Fititude." And she tells us in this article that research says that people who were once unhealthy and overweight and not very active, who really eventually changed their behaviors and maintained an active lifestyle, maintained a healthier weight, and live an active, healthy lifestyle long term, right? What research tells us that these people did is they developed and embraced new attitudes. They developed, as in they created them, they embraced them, they made this part of who they were, new attitudes, new values, and new ways of thinking. And that is what guided their behaviors. So I have this healthy attitude. I have these values. I value my life. I value being off medications. I value being with my children. Your whys, right? And then they created healthier ways of thinking, which we'll talk about. That stinking thinking, I talk about it a lot. And you have to become aware, which we talked about last week, that you're doing it so you can make the choice to change it. But she says if you learn how your attitudes, your values, how these things influence your behavior, you can actually change these attitudes. You can create an image of the values you want to get and maintain in your life. And that's how you change the way you behave. In my class, Gain While You Lose, we talk in depth about how thoughts and feelings and behaviors are so interrelated. And this is just a reinforcement of that. It's how you think, and you can change that, right? So, in this article, Dr. Kim also says that research demonstrates that our attitudes and our values related to weight loss and weight maintenance, right? We don't want to just lose the weight. We want to manage that weight and keep that weight off. Your thoughts, your attitudes, and your values are the foundation of your success. Oh my goodness. So, it's not just the weight loss surgery, it's not just the weight loss medication. For sure not. If you got stinking thinking, your behavior is going to fall in line with your stinking thinking. I say this in so many ways on almost every podcast or on almost every bariatric care video, right? How you believe on the inside about yourself, about your ability, is going to show through in your behavior. So, this article is validation of that and reinforcement of that, and lets us know how critical it is to have a positive attitude, an improved attitude, because if you're engaged in stinking thinking all the time, I don't know why I bother, I don't think I can do this, it's not worth it. Well, you know where you're headed, right? Nowhere positive. All right. So, in her article about fatitude and fittitude, Dr. Kim says she describes what she calls a pyramid to weight loss and weight management success. And she's like, you know, if you're going to achieve these things long term, every piece of this process is like a building block, and each component is vital, and all of them are necessary to create the long term health that you want. But a lot of people think they can get, if they can just get this eating in line, if I can control my eating, and if I can get these exercise habits in line, it'll all work out. And those things are critical. Without a doubt, you have to have healthy eating habits and you have to move your body. But if your attitude sucks, if you constantly engage in, I hate this is just, I'm just not cut out for this, I'm just not an exercise person, well, that is going to override at some point in time the eating and the exercise, because you're not going to follow through. So your attitudes and values, how important is this to you, are required in order to follow through, right? So people think that just this exercise, and they think they have to eat right and exercise. Yes, you do. But your attitudes play as important a role in determining the success, right? Attitudes and values, Dr. Kim says, form all of your eating and nutritional behaviors. I agree, right? It's that attitude, it's that mindset, it's that belief in yourself that's going to determine long term success or failure. Think about it. Think about the times in the past when you've been all gung ho and you got this eating down and you got this exercise and then you gave up on it all. My belief, and what this research is supporting and what Dr. Kim is supporting, is that you've got a fatitude. You've got negative thinking, you've got low self-esteem when it comes to your self-efficacy, your belief that you can do this. So what Dr. Kim describes a fatitude as is this negative attitude, a pessimistic outlook. It's discouraging, right? You're not going to take the necessary actions to achieve long-term success with your weight if you've got this stinking thinking going on, right? You've got these thought habits. You've got this negative reel playing in your head. And maybe it stems from what other people told you. You'll never amount to anything. I don't know why you bother. You're gonna amount to nothing. And it may not have been that severe, but it could have been constant dose of criticism that weakens your belief that you can do things, right? It may have been subtle. It may have been the kids at school picking on you when you were a kid, and you developed this attitude of something's wrong with me. I don't fit in. I don't belong. I'm not good enough. I just call it stinking thinking. But basically, it's thinking that leads to self defeating behaviors. Believe me or don't believe me, but I promise you, so many people end up not following through with the healthy habits because they don't believe in themselves. They don't develop the skill of awareness, becoming aware of those negative thoughts, and then making the choice to replace those with something more positive, right? So Dr. Kim says if you got a fatitude, you've got this internal war going on, right? So you've got these goals and some temporary motivation, but they're going to get overridden by this attitude of negativity, this doubt in yourself. And you're going to return to the yo-yo dieting. You're going to give into the emotional eating. Then that guilt is going to submerge you. That shame is going to rise, and the whole thing falls apart. So whether you want to believe it or not, there's a lot of research to back this up. There are a lot of professionals who are going to tell you you've got to work on your attitude. You've got to work on your self-esteem. You've got to work on your self-belief. You've got to improve your self-efficacy. Because if you don't, long-term success is going to elude you. All right, so how do you know? Dr. Kim says, how do you know if your attitudes are a roadblock to you getting the weight off and keeping the weight off? She says, here's some signs that indicate you have a fatitude. You feel like this is all too hard. It's just too hard. It's not worth it. Negative thinking, right? You believe that exercise is a punishment. I'm adding, you convince yourself that I'm just not an exerciser. I'm just not a breakfast eater, right? Dr. Kim says, you feel that eating healthy will stop you from having fun. I've had patients say that to me. If I quit going out to eat with my friends, I won't have any more fun. You place greater value on everything in your life aside from yourself and your health. You feel victimized by your slow metabolism. Translated, it's not fair. Why do I have to deal with this? Everybody else can eat what they want and never gain any weight. You're a victim, right? That's going to get you nowhere fast except back to the refrigerator. So you've got to accept, which is one of our 4 ACES that we're going to get to next week, is acceptance. But you've got to become aware of this, and you've got to change your attitude about it. Meaning, I do have a slow metabolism. Meaning, I do have PCOS. Meaning, I do have insulin resistance. Meaning, I do have the genetics to gain weight more easily than others. So what am I going to do about it? Am I going to piss and moan, or I'm going to change my attitude and say, well, this is my reality, so I guess I'm going to have to exercise more than that person? It's kind of like me in school, right? I had to work a lot harder or study a lot longer for an exam than a lot of other people did. Fair? Maybe not, but I wasn't given the gift of a good memory, or you know, what do they call that? When you see something and you remember it. Uh, what do they call that? It's eluding me. See, that memory thing. Anyway, so Fatitude says, I'm too busy. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to meal prep. I don't have time. I'm just too lazy. I look really stupid at the gym. Why would I do that to myself? I hear that a lot of that. So I say, you know what? I exercise 5 days a week and I never set foot in the gym and which is the truth for me. So a fatitude is going to sink your ship before it's out of the gate. Do ships go in gates? Out of the harbor. Or you can learn to develop a fititude. A fititude, says Dr. Kim, is a winning attitude about all of this. It's the first thing you need, kind of like Daresse in Cool Runnings. He had a fititude, right? I don't care how bad they want it. I want it more. I am doing this. I am going to the Olympics, right? So your fititude has to be backed up by effort, but we'll get to that in the four ACES as well. But it's got to start there. You've got to have this awareness. You've got to have this attitude that says, I'm going to win. I am going to win. And I'm going to follow through with the effort that matches my attitude. So here's some ways you can recognize if you have a fititude. I'm going to take action. I'm committed to taking action, not just saying words. I'm committed to the follow through, what I call the E, the effort or the action. A fititude says, I believe that I'm capable of making these changes. I may have struggled in the past, but I can learn new skills. And by golly, I'm going to seek out where I can learn these new skills. A fititude says, I'm willing to make the changes in my attitude and my effort. I'm going to exercise even if I don't like it. I'm going to exercise even if I think I don't have time because I am worth it. A fititude says the benefits of changing all of this outweighs the costs, right? The benefits of feeling better, having a longer life, being off those medicines are worth giving up some of the foods that I like. Maybe not all the time, but some of the time, right? A fititude says I'm willing to suffer through some of this temporary discomfort, meaning I got to get used to exercising. I might not like it at first. I might never like it, but I'm willing to put up with the temporary discomfort in order to have the long-term goals. So do you have a fititude? And a fititude is more than just words. It's action behind those words. So how do I develop this fititude? Ditch the fatitude, right? So Dr. Kim says, here's what you do. You catch it. You have to catch that you have a fatitude. I call it awareness. You have to become aware of when you're falling into stinking thinking. You have to become aware of when you're giving yourself negative self-talk. You have to become aware of when you're tempted to give up. So you've got to catch it. She says, I say you've got to become aware of this. And then she says, you better check it, right? You better check it. You better check your attitude here, right? After you catch the thoughts, you've got to examine them and consider, is this helping me or harming me? How is this benefiting me or is it not benefiting me? If I choose to stay stuck in this, why bother? If I choose to stay stuck in, it's not worth it. If I choose to stay stuck in, it's just too hard. Will I get to where I want to be or not? No. So I'm aware of it. And then I'm going to say, what else can I do about it? I'm going to say, are there other options? Is this going to lead me to where I want to be? And the third thing is to change it, right? Dr. Kim's 3 C's are catch it, check it, change it. I say become aware of it, make a choice about what you're going to do about it, and then follow through. So you've got choices. What are your options? Well, I can stay stuck in this negative pit, or I can say, I don't have to like how I feel when I exercise, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't like that I sweat, but I'm willing to put up with that temporary discomfort to get what I say I want most. All right. So again, the name of that article that I would recommend, and I'll put the link in the podcast notes, is Get Rid of Your Fatitude and Develop a Fititude by clinical psychologist Dr. Kim Feinstein. All right, so Now we have support for we got to get this attitude in line. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, fake it till you make it. I can't do this. Heck yeah, I can do this. Well, there's something sometimes that doesn't work there. Couple of things. One comes from deep down within, because if you really don't believe that, if you really don't make an effort to change that inner self-esteem problem or that lack of self-efficacy, the belief that you can do it, you're not going to override by faking it. You have to work on the inner self, right? You have to become aware and you have to put a lot of effort into it. So, another article that I read is by a guy named Dr. Simmons or Simons, he's a board certified obesity medicine physician, and he talks about some of the problems with positive thinking. He says it's impossible to feel positive all the time, and I agree with that. Sometimes you just feel down, and so if we try to fake it, it's just like trying to pretend, but that the real negativity is still there. So you can't just always fake it. Sometimes it's just like, I just really feel negative today. So what can you do when that's the case? Own it. I'm feeling really negative. I'm feeling really negative, and I still don't think I can muster what it takes to fake it till I make it. That's okay. I'm being aware of my negativity, and I'm going to say, what can I do about it? So I'm aware of it, and now I can say I can sit in it, or I can choose to work on it. It's not faking it like, woo, I got this all together. I'm the king of the universe. Mm-mm. It's saying I don't feel like it, but I can choose to do it regardless of not feeling like it. So you have the choice to change how you're thinking. How do you do that? By saying, well, what are my options? I can stay in this negative rut. I can try to fake it till I make it. Or I can just say, this is how I feel. But I'm not going to let myself, how I feel, drive the bus. I'm not going to let my feelings be in charge of me. So I'm going to say, my behavior is going to be in charge today. Not my negative self-talk, not the fact that I feel tired, but what I do. I'm going to put my behavioral choice in charge, and I'm going to go do it anyway. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Feel the sluggishness, do it anyway. Feel the negativity, do the healthy behavior anyway. No, you don't have to feel like it to do it. You don't have to want to eat breakfast to eat breakfast. You don't have to know why you drive through the drive-through to stay away from the drive-through, right? You can do hard things even if you don't feel like it. How often did you feel like doing your homework as a teenager? How often does your teenager feel like doing their homework? But somehow, some of them manage to get it done. Others don't, right? So they don't get the grades. So there are consequences to all the choices we make. So you can feel a certain way and choose to do something positive anyway. All right. And there are some things you can do to kind of bridge that gap between how you feel and what you do. Don't have your expectations too high. No, I don't feel like exercising. I feel tired today. So I'm not going to run 5 miles. I'm going to go out and walk 1 mile. I feel like one of my grandkids is up. I don't see anybody out there. Oh, it's the cat. Okay, the cat's at the door. All right. So there are some tips for maintaining a positive attitude, and I'm going to put those tips in the form of using the 4 ACES. So I'm going to give you a little preview of what's to come with some of the other words here. We have awareness. I'm feeling lousy. I have stinking thinking. We have the attitude. Do I want to stay there, or do I want to figure out a way to make it a little bit better? There's acceptance. Yeah, I feel like crap. And there's accountability. Well, I said I'm going to walk with my friend, so I'm going to do it anyway, right? And then there's the E for effort. Okay, I said I'm going to do it. I'm accountable. Here I go to meet my friend, or here I go to walk the mile by myself. And then there's the S for self. I am worth it. I am worth it. I really am worth it. And if I don't believe that I'm worth it, my kids are worth it. So today I'll do it for my kids because I'm not feeling so much like I'm worth it, right? All right, so here's some take homes for you. Attitude is key. It's not just about the surgery. It's not just about the weight loss medication. And it's not just about the eating behaviors and the exercise. It's about the attitude, because you're not going to follow through with the eating behaviors or with the exercise if your attitude sucks. So, attitude is key. Take home message number 2, you're going to feel discouraged sometimes. So just own it, but make a decision to improve it and to follow through with the effort and the action anyway. Third, use awareness. I'm aware that I'm having stinking thinking, and then adjust your attitude. So we're taking 2 pieces of the 4 ACEs and putting them together, and eventually we're going to put all of these words together. Use your awareness to know what's going on with you, and then use your attitude to make an adjustment and do what you need to do anyway. So here's some invitations for you. In addition to encouraging other people to listen to this or watch this video, maybe keep a list on your phone. When you're aware that you're engaging in some kind of stinking thinking that's going to affect your attitude, jot it down on your phone. And then think to yourself, what are my options here? I'm having this negative thought. What are my options here? How can I improve my attitude? And then maybe at the end of the day, reflect about over those things. Or if you've got an accountability partner or somebody you're working through some things with, or a therapist, say, you know what? I was aware 5 times today when I had this stinking thinking, and I was thinking it's too hard, or I think I just want to give up, or it's just not worth it. But what I did instead was blah, blah, blah. So talk it out with somebody else. Share it with your support group so other people can learn how to do this. Anyway, so keep a list, figure out some ways to choose a healthier attitude, and then follow through. Remember, we're talking about your health. We're talking about you, your life, your long-term health, your responsibility. Nobody can do this for you. Your health, your responsibility. This day, today, and every day to come. So be like Daresse in Cool Runnings and see it, visualize it, know it, and follow through. Keep that attitude up. All right, my friends, I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.